Hey everyone, I've been flooded with messages asking the same question. Can Social Security, SSI, or SSDI recipients really get both the $1,200 and the $2,000 at the same time? The answer is more complicated than a simple yes, and getting it wrong could cost you your benefits. I need you to listen closely for the next few minutes because I'm going to give you the definitive guide to what these numbers really mean for your benefits. Understanding this is absolutely crucial. A misunderstanding could lead you to make a costly and potentially irreversible mistake that could threaten your financial stability for months or even years. Now, let's get straight to the truth behind these numbers and what they mean for your wallet. Let's start with the big one, that $2,000 number. You see it in a headline and your mind immediately jumps to a check, right? A $2,000 payment, a direct deposit, some kind of federal relief. Here's the hard truth. For the vast majority of people on Supplemental Security Income or SSI, the $2,000 figure is not a payment coming to you. It's the exact opposite. It's a limit on what you can have. That's right, the $2,000 is the resource limit for an individual to stay eligible for SSI. If you're a single person, you cannot have more than $2,000 in what the Social Security Administration, SSA, calls countable resources. For a married couple, that limit is $3,000. This rule has been a huge point of stress for SSI recipients for decades. This isn't some new number from a new program. It's a rule that has been in place, mostly unchanged, for over 30 years. It has never been adjusted for inflation, which means a limit that was tight in the 1980s is incredibly hard to stay under today. So when you see headlines about a $2,000 payment, it's often a dangerous misinterpretation or, in some cases, deliberate clickbait. It preys on the hope that so many people on fixed incomes have for financial relief. But the reality is that this $2,000 is a line in the sand. If your countable assets go even $1 over this limit, you risk getting your SSI benefits suspended or even terminated. This is that costly mistake I warned you about. Now, what about the $1,200 number? This one is tricky because it pops up for a few different reasons, which just adds to the confusion. First, and most obviously, the number $1,200 is burned into our minds from the first round of stimulus checks during the CARES Act back in 2020. That was a real $1,200 payment for many Americans. Because of that, anytime government benefits are discussed, that number gets thrown around as a reference point, creating a tangled mess of information. Second, you might see $1,200 used as a rough estimate of certain benefit amounts. For instance, the maximum federal SSI benefit for an individual in 2026 is actually $994 per month. For a couple, it's $1,491. So while $1,200 isn't the exact federal amount, it's in the ballpark of what some people might receive, especially when you include state supplements, which vary by location. And finally, politicians have floated proposals in the past for new payments around the $1,200 or $2,000 mark. But these are just that, proposals. They are not law. The problem is, headlines often scream about these proposals as if they're a done deal, and that's just irresponsible. So let's be perfectly clear. The $2,000 figure is almost certainly referring to the SSI asset limit, a rule about what you can save, not a check you'll receive. And the $1,200 figure is usually a ghost of a past stimulus check or a rough estimate of some benefits. Neither of these is a new, guaranteed payment. The danger here is very real. Imagine you see a headline and believe a $2,000 check is coming. You might make a large purchase on a credit card, thinking you'll pay it off when the money arrives, but the money never comes. Or worse, a well-meaning family member gives you $1,000. You put it in your bank account, which already has $1,500. Your balance is now $2,500. You've just crossed the $2,000 SSI asset limit, and if you don't handle that situation correctly and immediately, you could face a suspension of the monthly benefits you rely on for food and rent. This is why knowing the truth is so critical. The core difference: SSI versus SSDI versus Social Security retirement. To really get this, we have to understand the huge differences between the programs the Social Security Administration manages. People use Social Security, SSI, and SSDI interchangeably all the time, but they are totally different programs with different rules. Let's start with Supplemental Security Income, or SSI. This is the program tied to that $2,000 asset limit. SSI is a needs based program. That's the most important thing to remember. It is not based on your work history. It's designed to provide a minimum income for basic needs like food and shelter. SSI is for adults and children who are disabled or blind, or for people 65 and older who have very limited income and resources. Because it's needs based, it has those strict limits. As we've established, the asset limit is $2,000 for an individual and $3,000 for a couple. The maximum federal benefit in 2026 is $994 for an individual. If you have other income, your actual payment will be lower. Now let's switch to Social Security Disability Insurance, or SSDI. This is where the confusion really kicks in. SSDI is also for people with disabilities, but it is not needs based. Instead, SSDI is an insurance program. When you work and pay FICA taxes, you're paying premiums into this insurance system. If you become disabled and can't work, you can file a claim for benefits based on your past earnings. The amount you get is based on your lifetime earnings, not your current assets. This leads to the single most important distinction. And I'm going to say this again because it's that important. SSDI does not have an asset limit. If you receive SSDI, you do not have a $2,000 resource limit. You can have savings, own property, and have money in the bank without it affecting your SSDI benefits. The average SSDI monthly payment in 2026 is estimated to be around $1,630. The primary rule for SSDI is about work, not assets. It's called the Substantial Gainful Activity, or SGA limit. In 2026, if you earn more than $1,690 a month from work, the SSA will generally decide you're no longer eligible for SSDI. Finally, there's Social Security retirement. This is what most people think of as Social Security. Like SSDI, it's an insurance program you pay into. And just like SSDI, regular Social Security retirement benefits have no asset limit. You can be a millionaire and still collect the Social Security check you earned. The average retirement benefit in 2026 is projected to be around $2,071 a month. Let's lay it out clearly. SSI, Supplemental Security Income, needs-based, has a strict $2,000 asset limit. The max federal payment is $994 in 2026. SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, insurance program based on work history. It has no asset limit. Social Security Retirement, insurance program for retirees based on work history. It also has no asset limit. This is so critical because the strategy to protect your benefits is completely different depending on which program you're on. If you're on SSDI, a surprise gift isn't a problem. If you're on SSI, that same gift could be a disaster. And if you get both as a concurrent beneficiary, you have to follow the stricter SSI rules. Section 3, Mastering the $2,000 limit, a deep dive into SSI eligibility. For the millions of Americans on SSI, that $2,000 limit is a tightrope you walk every single day. But it doesn't have to be so scary. The key is knowledge. You need to become an expert on what the SSA counts and what it doesn't. So, what are the most common things that the SSA considers a countable resource? This is the stuff that counts towards your $2,000 limit. Cash at home or in your wallet. Money in bank accounts, including checking, savings, and some prepaid cards. Stocks, bonds, and other investments. A second car. Real estate other than the home you live in. The cash surrender value of certain life insurance policies. You can see how quickly this could add up. But here's where your power comes in. The SSA has a long list of resources that are not countable. These are called exemptions, and knowing them is your most important strategy. 1. The home you live in. Your primary residence and the land it's on do not count, no matter what it's worth. This is the biggest exemption. 2. One vehicle. The full value of one car or truck is exempt if it's used for transportation. This is a huge help. 3. Household goods and personal effects. Your furniture, clothes, TV, and personal items like wedding rings are not counted. 4. Burial funds and plots. You can set aside up to $1,500 per person in a separate labeled burial fund account. On top of that, burial plots for you and your immediate family are completely exempt. 5. Life insurance. This is a bit tricky. Term life doesn't count. For whole life policies, they are exempt if the total face value of all your policies is $1,500 or less. 6. ABLE accounts. This is, without a doubt, one of the most powerful tools out there. ABLE stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience. It's a special savings account for people whose disability began before age 26. Starting in 2026, that age of onset is expanding to 46, making many more people eligible. You can have up to $100,000 in an ABLE account, and that money is completely invisible to SSI. It does not count toward your $2,000 limit. If you're eligible, an ABLE account is a total game changer, allowing you and your family to save for the future without risking your benefits. 7. Special Needs Trusts, SNTs. For a large sum of money, like an inheritance or legal settlement, an SNT is your best friend. Money placed in a properly drafted SNT is not a countable resource. A trustee can use the funds to improve your quality of life, like paying for a wheelchair-accessible van, a vacation, or medical care, all without affecting your SSI. You definitely need an experienced attorney for this, but it's a critical tool. 8. Past plans. Plan to achieve self-support. If you want to go back to work, a past plan lets you set aside income and resources for a specific work goal, like tuition or starting a business. Money in an approved past plan doesn't count against you. This might feel like a lot, but understanding this list is the difference between living in constant fear and feeling secure. And remember, your SSI payment is calculated by taking the maximum federal rate, $994 in 2026, and subtracting your countable income. The SSA doesn't count the first $20 of most income or the first $65 of earned income, and then only counts half of the rest of your earnings. This is meant to encourage work, but unearned income, like gifts, is counted much more harshly. Mastering these rules is your shield. It's how you legally and correctly build a small cushion for yourself. Section 4. Protecting your benefits. Critical mistakes to avoid. We've covered the myths, the programs, and the tools. Now let's talk about the landmines, the critical mistakes people make that can have devastating consequences. Mistake Chucker 1, the asset transfer penalty. This is the big one. Let's say you're about to get a few $1,000s. You know you can't go over the $2,000 limit. Thinking of just giving the money to your son to hold for you? Don't. This is a catastrophic mistake. The SSA has a rule called the Transfer of Resources penalty. If you give away an asset or sell it for less than it's worth just to stay under the limit, the SSA will penalize you with a period of ineligibility for SSI benefits that can last for up to 36 months. That's 3 years. With no monthly check and no Medicaid, they will find out. If you get money that puts you over the limit, your only safe options are to spend it down on exempt items, like paying rent, buying food, or fixing your car in the same month you get it, or move it into a protected account like an ABLE account or a special needs trust. Do not give it away. Mistake number 2, mismanaging joint bank accounts. This is another innocent but dangerous error. You might have a joint bank account with your daughter so she can help pay bills. The problem is the SSA assumes all the money in that account belongs to you. If your daughter deposits her $1,000 paycheck into the joint account that already holds your $1,500, the SSA's records will show a $2,500 balance under your name. You're now over the limit. While you can try to prove the money isn't yours, it's a bureaucratic nightmare. The safest solution is to have your own separate bank account. Mistake number 3, failing to report changes. You are required to report any change that could affect your benefits in income, resources, marital status, or living situation by the 10th day of the following month. If you don't, the SSA might overpay you. And when they find an overpayment, they will demand that money back, often by withholding it from your future checks. Report everything, even if you're not sure it counts. It's far better to overreport than to underreport and face a penalty. Mistake number 4, falling for scams. Scammers love to target beneficiaries. You'll get a call, text, or email claiming to be from the SSA. They'll say your social security number is compromised or promise you an extra $2,000 payment if you just verify your personal information. Here's the deal: the Social Security Administration will almost never call you out of the blue to threaten you or ask for your bank account number. That's a scam. Full stop, hang up. Don't click the link. If you're ever worried, you be the one to call the SSA's official national toll free number. Okay, that was a lot, so let's boil it down to what you absolutely need to remember. First, the talk of new $2,000 and $1,200 payments is mostly noise. The $2,000 figure is the outdated SSI asset limit you have to stay under. The $1,200 is just a ghost of stimulus past or a rough benefit estimate. Second, know your benefit. If you're on SSDI or retirement, you don't have an asset limit. If you're on SSI, those strict resource rules are your reality. Third, knowledge is your protection. Master the list of what the SSA doesn't count: your home, one car, personal goods, and funds and protected tools like ABLE accounts and special needs trusts are your lifeline. Using these tools isn't cheating, it's the smart legal way to create stability. And finally, avoid those critical mistakes. Never give away assets to get under the limit. Report changes, be careful with joint accounts, and hang up on scammers. There is some hope on the horizon. Bipartisan legislation called the SSI Savings Penalty Elimination Act has been proposed in Congress. It would raise the asset limits from $2,000 to $10,000 for an individual and from $3,000 to $20,000 for a couple. It is not law yet, but it has support and shows that change is possible. My goal was to give you the clear information you need to feel confident and in control. If you found this guide valuable and want to stay updated on that legislation and other benefit news, please hit that like button. It tells YouTube this information is important and helps it reach more people. And be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a critical update. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay safe, and take control of your future.